Hello, my name is Zed, and today I'm talking about representation. Because I bring it up a lot in videos that I've made so far, saying that the representation we have in the United States isn't doing a good job representing us, the voters. Doesn't matter what side we're on. But what do I mean? What what does it mean to be a good representative? What what would that entail? Well, in my personal opinion, a good representative is like a good leader, like a good parent. It's somebody who was put into a position of authority. So a parent, they had a kid. Now they've been put into a position of authority. Now they have to start making decisions that are for the best interest of the kid that they're now responsible for. Just like a representative gets elected to a position and then becomes responsible for those that are underneath them. Them, him, her, doesn't matter. Um, like a, and what does a good parent do? So I know that we have lots of different kinds of parents that we might have grown up with. Where parents that told you what to do and said, "Do it because I say so." And is that a good representative? No, not even sure that would necessarily make you a good parent. Just on that point alone. Not saying that I'm judging anybody else, but if that's all you ever did is because I say so, well then no, I don't think that you would qualify as a good parent because again, we're supposed to be giving our kids the understanding that we have. And by just saying no, no reason, no explanation, just no. The only understanding that we provide for our kids is that there are certain times that somebody's just going to tell you flat out no. And there's nothing you can do to make that person budge. So I mean, can it happen every once in a while where someone says no or because I say so? Sure. But if that's all you do, well then no. Anyhow, that's off on a tangent. A good representative, like a good parent, takes in all the information that they are privy to. Because as a parent, they understand the budget, they understand the food intake and shopping responsibilities. They understand that everybody's got a set schedule and we have places to be and we have to be there on time. Otherwise, we're all going to be marked tardy and, you'll get kicked out of school. I'm going to lose my job and all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of things that the kid doesn't have to worry about. The kid has a parent that is there to do that job on their behalf, to make those decisions. And hopefully, if you're a good parent, you're going to make the decisions that best, work out for your kid, or at least you're attempting to. In the same way that a representative who is doing a decent job would make the best decisions based upon trying to make it good for us. Not for the corporations, not for themselves, not for their buddies, for us. So, if we had a parent that, only did things for themselves and didn't give a shit about the kid, would that be considered acceptable? No, of course not. We even have government agencies that would come and take that kid away. Yet the government agency that would take those kids away are managed by representatives who are doing the exact same thing. Am I saying that all representatives get into their office and do absolutely nothing? No. I mean, there seems to be a trend on the Republican or the conservative side that says that Republicans aren't really supposed to allow the government to do much. The Republican stance is more of the idea that government should be smaller, shouldn't really be in our lives telling us what to do. So if you elect a Republican, their job is to kind of fill a position so that nobody else will fill it. There won't be some hopeful Democrat that then allows things to progress and develop and so on and so forth. Instead, there's going to be a Republican in that seat that's going to ensure that no, the government's not going to get bigger. The taxes for the wealthy aren't going to get increased. Maybe taxes on us, because, they don't give a shit about us. Again, they don't represent us. But, yeah. But it's happening on, the liberal side too. And again, I don't claim to be a liberal or a Republican. I am an American, and I'll vote for whoever looks like they're actually going to do a decent job representing us. So the last two presidential elections, I would have absolutely, gladly voted for Bernie Sanders. But I didn't get the opportunity. Unfortunately, Bernie Sanders, like most of us, is wrapped up in a game that is rigged to benefit those who are already at the top. It's... Anyhow. So yeah, a representative that doesn't do their job, that doesn't represent the people. And I get that there are Republican voters, conservative voters, who agree with the Republican ideal that, yeah, you can put someone in office who's not going to do something, that they're just a seat filler. And some people would agree with that. The biggest difference I see is, again, not affiliated with either side of the political parties, is that on the Republican side, it seems like all the talking points come from the top. So the Republican voters are more or less following the lead of those who are in power, which is, again, that should be how it goes. The people who are in that position are supposed to get certain kinds of information that we are not privy to, that they then bring to us so that they can get an idea of where we would like to go. And then we're supposed to voice our opinion, and then they make their decisions based on that. That's how it's supposed to go. But instead, on the Republican conservative side, it's that the people at the top instead say, this is what it means to be a Republican. This is our stance. This is what we are going to stand for. This is the belief structure. These are our talking points. And the voters are like, okay. Not, oh, well, we don't agree with that, or so on and so forth, which is one of the reasons why it's so hard right now for the conservative side, the right-wing side, to pivot away from being more anti-vax. And I get that saying anti-vax means it draws up bad things. But, yeah, there was literally a representative for the Republican Party who was in the highest seat of power in this land who said, it's not a big deal. It's up to you if you want to get this thing that's going to protect you from, a virus. And people were like, done. We're not going to take it. He's not telling us to take it, so we don't have to take it. We're going to stand our ground. Okay. And then it just kept getting repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. So now even when that same representative comes forward to say, hey, it's okay to get a vaccine. Boo! Boo you, the person that originally told us that, yeah, we probably shouldn't be so interested in it. The one that we're very happy with following. The one who, if you tell us something, even if it doesn't make sense, we're open to believing it. There's even the whole Q community, where it doesn't even have to be something he said. It could be something that you draw out of one of the things. So gov't could mean something totally different. And if you count the numbers and their distance from A, and then, man, crazy things, right? Well, but a good representative doesn't double down when they make a bad call. And the reason why that didn't work out is because the time that he was trying to correct his own mistake was months and months and months and months and almost years after he made his initial claim that it's really not that big of a deal. It's something I'm trying to play down. Oh, but that's not a good representative. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that that is the only, example of a bad representative. Right now we have President number 46, who's also not a good representative. Except on the Democratic side, since the Republicans get their messaging from the top and kind of just, okay, agreed. That's what we're going to go with from now on. Dr. Seuss, whatever, yep, that's where we're going. On the liberal side, they want to represent the corporations, but they have to take their talking points from the people. So there are people who are fighting for racial equality or LGBTQIA2S plus equality. So now the people who are on the Democratic side have to espouse that in their own talking points. That yes, we're here for equality. We're here to bring Americans together. We're going to build back better. We're going to do all the things that you really want done. We're just going to fail at it. But we're going to do that attempt. We're going to try super hard. And we're going to cut our own legs off in any kind of negotiation or bargaining process because again, we know that we're supposed to lose. So we're not doing a good job representing you either, because we are also representing the corporate superpowers, those who have controlled the game, who ensured that I don't have to do what you want. I only have to make it appear as though I'm doing what you want, or I want to do what you want. And just with any fight that we go through in the United States, that's what it ends up being, is that on the liberal side, the voters themselves are saying, we want America to be the America that we've been promised. Equality, justice, freedoms, all those kind of good things that the Constitution guarantees us. On the Republican side, from the top, they're saying no, because any version of people getting rights in the United States or having freedom or anything like that is somehow going to be anti-American. It's socialist, it's communist, it's Marxist, it's anything I can associate it to make it so that Americans having freedoms or rights, gross. That should put a bad taste in your mouth. So, it's essentially we have like a good cop, bad cop parents on the Democratic and the Republican side. And they're both working for the corporate superpowers. They're just putting on their little show for us. The Republicans are trying to ensure that there's going to be somebody there to be the naysayer against the people on this side who want there to be justice and equality and all those kind of things. And the worst part is, in my personal opinion, all of us want that justice. All of us want that equality. If you come up to any one of us, regardless of our political affiliation, and say, hey, do you believe that Americans deserve to have rights, freedoms, and liberties? That justice is something that we should be, okay with? Yeah, fuck yeah. Right. Okay, cool. So, you want to keep your freedoms? Yeah, obviously. Well, what a stupid question for you to ask. No, I want to give my freedoms up to the corporations. Because that's what we're doing right now. We're allowing these representatives to do such a bad job at representing us that they're pulling us apart. The Republican side is saying, you need to be mad at all those liberals, those Antifa, Black Lives Matter. Ooh, man, they're the worst part of America. They're not even American. They're some socialist, communist fucking bullshit, and they're trying to take over this nation. The liberal side, they're trying to bring in immigrants. It's some kind of replacement theory. Yeah, that's what it is. They're trying to bring in enough non-white people so that white people will no longer be in charge. What? Like, first off, are we saying that white people should be in charge? That's the only way it could be right? Is if white people are the majority. In a world where white people are not the majority. But in America, kinda. But it's already headed that direction. There doesn't need to be an influx of immigrants. We could get there now. And again, with a representative, they're not representing us. They're parents who are representing somebody else and themselves. And the worst part is that the parents who are in those political seats of power aren't just representing American corporations. They're not just representing the corporations that would only benefit the United States. They're willing to represent, businesses and corporations from Saudi Arabia. They're willing to benefit and support and represent corporations that are from China. Or even now with our movie industry, a movie industry that was born and raised and grew in Hollywood. That now a movie that we're going to get as Americans also kind of has to be for the Chinese, viewers. So there's a little bit of tweaking, there's a little bit of addition. And it shows that not only are we being represented less and less in our own government, it's allowing us to be represented less and less in America. Because again, our representation is based on whoever came before us. Whoever came before these representatives weren't doing a very good job representing us either, or the us of the time. And so these guys, the ones who are in charge now, are able to do even less representing. And it doesn't seem weird to us because it's kind of what happens. We accept the fact that there's some kind of political, manipulation and greed. But we don't have to. We shouldn't. We shouldn't allow people that are in the representative capacity, those who are basically our parents, to not give a shit about us. And so, if you want to elect Republicans to get to the seat of power to ensure that America stays the place where we get our freedoms and our rights and we have justice, okay, but that's not what they're doing right now. Right now, they're getting into office so that they can benefit themselves and the corporate powers. And it's not just Republicans. Republicans, unfortunately, have the ability to be more bold-faced about it. That they've already categorized the American corporations as the hardest working Americans, those who have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. And who are we to take money from them? It could be considered theft if you listen to certain people. And no, it's not theft. If they get 100% of the representation of this, this company, not company, Freudian slip, of this government, then yeah, they should have to pay 100% of the fucking taxes. Again, I've already made the point. It's like going to dinner with your parents, the representatives. They benefit. They eat everything. It's all for them. Or they doggy bag it up and give it to the corporations. You have to pay. Not the whole thing sometimes, but most of it. And anything that you're not paying for, they'll collect from you on the back end. They'll just raise the prices a little bit on stuff. That way they get to make up for the small amount that they did have to send to the government that's supposed to be representing us, the American people. But less and less. And Citizens United made it even worse. So now campaign contributions ensure that you and I can't run for any kind of political office. There's far too much money involved. If we get up on that stage, we're going to be next to CEOs of corporations that are just doing it for fun, to ensure that there's somebody else there to represent the American people? No. The corporations themselves. Themselves, their buddies, and whoever's on top of them. And yeah, America's going to go away. Our rights and freedoms, because the more and more corrupt they become and the less representation we get, the less and less likely we are to have rights, freedoms, liberties, and any sense of justice. Which, in my own personal opinion, is what makes January 6th so terrifying. Because that wasn't Black Lives Matter. That wasn't Antifa who was storming the Capitol to ensure that there was some kind of representation for the people at the Capitol. It was people on the Republican side who were told from the top that you need to go out there and do this. A good American would go to Washington, go to the Capitol, and do these things. So, what are you going to do? And so they followed the lead of their leaders. Unfortunately, it's not leaders who lead from the front. It's leaders who gave you orders and then just stood back to see what would happen. And it's my personal opinion that they were hoping that the idea of you and I being represented could be taken down. So all it took was convincing some Americans to go and destroy the democracy that protects us all, protects our rights, protects our freedoms, protects the idea of justice here in this nation. If January 6th was successful, do you think that they would keep the same Constitution? Do you think that now that we would have a dictator who took over this country, that he would keep it America? No. I'm going to say, based on the buildings that this person is associated to or associated with, no. That this was going to become another big old... And what would have happened to our freedoms? Who would have benefited from January 6th being successful? You? You would be more successful if there weren't any rules, there weren't any laws, there weren't any rights or freedoms that you were given by God, aka the Constitution? No. Those would go away as soon as it became a successful coup. Then who gets to write the rules? You? No. Whoever is in that seat of power. Whoever is supposed to be in that seat of a representative power. But they didn't want the seat of power to be a good representative for you. They wanted that seat of power to be a good representative for themselves, their buddies, and the higher-ups. To ensure that you and I don't have any protections against going to work for, 20 hours a day, only getting paid 15 cents an hour, because that's all they deemed us to be worth. We don't have any freedoms, protections, or rights to argue with them. There's no judicial system. All that went away because some Americans were convinced to overthrow an entire government by their representatives. Representatives who would be the shittiest parents if that's what they were. So what kind of representation do we want? What kind of representation do we need? Well, whoever good parents are. Someone who would be in that position of authority and not think of it as some kind of reward. That now I'm in the seat of power. Now I get to be the one to say, because I say so. Just like my parents told me before, or I got abused, now it's my chance to be the abuser. Yes! I was bullied, it's my chance to be the bully. No. No. The representative capacity is not supposed to be some kind of reward. That is a huge responsibility. But we don't have people that go into these positions thinking of it as a responsibility. They think of it as a privilege. They think of it as a way to put themselves above others. Now I get better information. I know what's happening long before any of these other fucks. I get to make the moves that I want to make. I get to talk to those corporate overlords and figure out who I'm going to fight for. Am I going to fight for the oil industry? Am I going to fight for, the automobile industry? Am I going to fight for coal or mining or seaside resorts or the medical field, pharmaceuticals, the check cashing industry? I'm going to be representing somebody, and they're going to give me plenty of money to do my job. And all I have to do is put on this little theater, this play, pretend to do what it is that I was put here to do. So if I'm on the Republican side, I'm going to get to the point where I start telling people what is what. Tell them what to think, what to feel, and tell them it's all the left's fault. The left is trying to do all this horrible things. They're trying to make sure that if you get sick, you have the ability to go to a hospital and be cared for. They're not thinking of the doctors. They're not thinking of the people that have to make money. Yeah, they are. No one was saying that we suddenly strike out everybody's pay, that nobody gets paid now. The one real benefit to it being that we have a national health care or socialized health care is the idea that one person now has to buy all the medication for America. The bulk rates you would get off of that alone are just incredible. But on the other hand, now it's a government agency, one that has a little more pull when it comes to dealing with consumer affairs. To say that, well, no, we have to have a 900% markup because that's how we're going to do research and development. Well, then you get to have, I think it was Katie Porter, not sure on the name, but a representative who comes forward and is like, yeah, no, this is how much you spend on research and development, and this is how much you spend on bonuses for you fucking CEOs. So 900% overcharge for research and development. Really? That's the lie we're going to keep going with? But they are allowed to get away with it because, again, this representative, I think Katie Porter, man, now I got to look it up. She was the only person that stood up to say something about it. So now it seems weird that there was, even someone who was willing to stand up and put on a little bit of a display. But, it is Katie Porter. Nice. And, so it's not to say we don't have any good representation, but it's few and far between. And the few good representatives we do have are they're outnumbered. They are the minority. So when it comes to us wanting to get anything done on the behalf of the American people, it is a very, very, very difficult uphill battle. An uphill battle against the wealthiest Americans who are sending as much as they can down that mountain to ensure that we can't make it to the top. Misinformation. People are sponsored to just say the opposite. Where now I'm gonna put together a study group, and even though 99% of the scientific community is saying one thing, I'm gonna start paying scientists to find the opposite. And now all I have to do is just put that out there. Put it out there and be like, no, look, those fucking liberals lying to us again, even though they have 99% of the world agreeing. Here we have this 0.1 or 1% who don't agree. Isn't that good enough to not do what 99% of the scientific community agree to? No. Because, yeah, it sucks that we have to trust scientists who are paid by those people at the top. But if you get 99% of them saying the same thing, that means that you have 99% of the people that are paying for that scientific study who are willing to allow that study to come out. It just seems like that's... And we're dealing with it again with this vaccination. That throughout the world, coronavirus is affecting the globe. That everybody wants to have a vaccination. We, because we're in a developed country where we do have a majority of the wealth, we're able to come up with a vaccination relatively quickly. And now in this nation, people on the Republican top said, even though that's what we were looking for, even though we kept wanting to tell people that we're turning that corner, we're turning the corner, pretty soon it's not going to be an issue anymore. Now we have the ability for it not to be an issue. But there's an election coming up. So, why is it that they told us that it wasn't a big deal, that it was our choice to get the vaccination? What do those representatives gain? Is it political authority? No, they're already in the seats of power. Is it money? Maybe. Maybe somebody's paying them to say that. Or maybe, just maybe, those who are on the Republican side, that they espouse the idea of patriotism and being, true red-blooded Americans, were more than willing to allow many, many, many Americans to die alone, away from their family in a hospital bed where they might have the opportunity to Skype somebody. Might. But otherwise you get to die alone or among strangers in a sterile setting where someone is going to be charging you far too much to try and save your life. So maybe they had money in the medical field. Maybe they're invested in those hospitals, as I said before. So maybe they didn't want you to get the vaccination because those were free. But if you have to go get, some kind of, not intubating, anyhow, if you need to have oxygen, respirator, there we go. If you need a respirator, that costs money. That's medical equipment that they get to charge you for. That's procedures that they get to charge you for. And if all these hospitals are at max capacity, why, that's got to be a pretty dollar that people are making there. So maybe that's what it is. Or maybe they just wanted to get rid of Americans and realize that, well, since everybody's fighting with this coronavirus thing, maybe we can't go to war, even though lately it seems like we're gearing up to go to war with China, which, fuck, that's gonna suck. Yeah. Instead, we can thin out the numbers of the peasant class without having to incite a war. And we still get to reap the rewards. So I get to sell you all this misinformation and claim that I'm the only one giving you the correct information. So now you get to come to me and only me for your information. So now I get to make money off of that. I get to capitalize on that. You get to go to the hospital that I may be invested in. So I get to capitalize on that. You may want a bunch of shirts and things that say your point. And I'm going to capitalize on that. I'm going to make sure that any way, shape, or form that people move, I get to capitalize on it. But those damn liberals over there, they're getting the vaccine and trying to go back to work, trying to make this country run again. That's bullshit. That's socialist. Don't let them do it. It's slavery. You're like the Jews during the Holocaust. Man, they're going to start labeling you out and saying that you're a person that doesn't want to be safe or healthy. That if there was someone who was walking around with contagious AIDS, where you could just breathe on someone and give them AIDS, and there was somebody after the AIDS vaccine came out that said, hey, all you have to do is go get this double shot and maybe a booster later on, because some people aren't going to go get the AIDS vaccine. So unfortunately, there's going to be lots of incubation people that allow that sickness to get in them, grow and replicate because there's nothing there to fight it, and then it mutates into something brand new. Then it becomes something new that the previous vaccine wasn't able to fight effectively. So maybe we have to alter that vaccine a little bit, or maybe pump it up a little bit. Maybe you just need slightly more. But yeah. Oh, man, this is a long rant. And I don't know what... The whole point is representation. Like parents. They're supposed to be there to make the good decisions, and they're not. Almost none of them are there to make the good decisions. Which is why we had somebody who was in the highest seat of power for 4 fucking years, who every day seemed as though they wanted to prove that they weren't here to benefit the United States. And what did our other representatives do? Nothing. Just how all the conspiracies that come out on the right about how Antifa's bad and Black Lives Matter is bad and there's these secret cabal of child molesting people, but your representatives aren't going to do a goddamn thing about it. They're going to leave it up to you because they're the mouthpieces. So they're going to tell you whatever they want you to think. And whatever it is going to be this side bad, this side good. You have to be on this side. And if you ever question anything that we tell you, we'll start to call you a rhino. We'll kick you out of this fucking group. Then you can go be independent or one of those socialist libs who are trying to destroy America by giving people freedom and rights and like opportunity, the thing that's supposed to be guaranteed to us in the Constitution. Yeah. And we say that Biden is the most progressive president, and I disagree with that. Just based on FDR. But the reason why he had to appear to be a progressive president is because America is becoming more and more progressive. The idea that we can do better. We can be better. We don't have to simply do exactly what the people at the top tell us to do. It's best that we ask questions, that we ensure that we follow up with the talking points that our representatives put out there. That it should be checked and verified and ensured that they're not trying to lie to us. But there are some on the Democratic side that think the progressive side of America is also bad. That they're going outside the norms that we've already established. And a little bit judgmental here, but I think it has to do with people that put in their time. I was low man on the totem pole. I followed the rules. I did as the people at the top told me to do. And now there's the young up-and-comers who are thinking that they get to just ask to have, equality It's not about going and working your ass off and ensuring that you face inequality every day of your life and you just eventually grow numb to it, or it's not a big deal. That's what the youth have to do. They need to just suck it up and realize that this world can't be influenced by us. We're nothing. We are the peasant class. Those establishment people already understand that. I've joined my team. I've hooked my chariot or my wagon to this side. And I've put in so much time and energy into supporting this side. Now you progressives want to come in and try and make it so that we all have equality and fairness, and now you're saying that the Democratic side's not really representing us and the Republican side's not representing us? Yeah. Yep. And I am no way, shape, or form a mouthpiece for the progressive side. No. Would I consider myself progressive? Yeah. I think if you had to put me into a box, progressive would be the closest to anything you could put me in, outside of being an American, a human. Yeah. So, I'm in no way, shape, or form talking about us revamping the entire American system. I'm not saying that we need to put new laws in place, that we suddenly need to socialize everything. No. But right now, we can't even have a real conversation about which direction we're going, because those who are representing us are intent on splitting us apart. So now any attempt to have just a normal conversation about immigration, about vaccines, about there's so much charged up bullshit behind both sides that just getting together and saying, hey, how's it going, is now almost an impossible task. And it's not really impossible. But who wants to do that? Who wants to go to the people on the other side? There are mouthpieces on the right. They're talking about the only reason why you should ever befriend or talk to somebody who's a liberal is to destroy them and make them look stupid. The fuck? How can that be your position when all you're doing is listening to the people at the top? It's not that you're coming up with the idea on your own. So then I assume you're saying that your position as a Republican should be to take the talking points from those who represent us, which they don't, and then defeat the liberals with them? So are you saying that you know that you're doing all the work for the representatives that don't represent you? Just like on January 6th, how those people were doing the work of the corporate overlords? They weren't going to get anything. There was no victory for them. Even if they were successful, they still would have lost their freedoms, their rights, and their liberties. Because our representation sucks. Had we had a different representative? Who knows? Maybe we could be talking about a different soft coup. And maybe there was some idea of implementing, a renewed America. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody that wanted to be dictator, that wanted to do away with the electoral process. That says, even though you people at the bottom have so little say, so little voice, so little of a vote, you guys voted. I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm going to charge up some people who are going to go and attack that institution. That institution will then become mine. We deserve better. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of Opinionized, is to bring us, the American people, together to recognize that we do deserve better. That the idea of trying to destroy your opponent. Who the fuck is your opponent? Fellow Americans? So for you to keep freedom, liberty, and rights and all that, you have to attack the other side. Because here I am as a person who's saying that on the right side, you guys are following the lead of those who represent you. And I am in no way, shape, or form saying that we need to attack you. No. The bullshit that the people at the top are selling to you, yes. The people at the top who are actively trying to get you to work against your own best interests, yes. But the hope is that you can see that happening on the other side. Now I just need to open your eye, or need you to open your eyes a little bit wider, and then turn around and be like, oh, yeah, that is happening here too. turns out the team that I have associated myself to, the one that I hooked my wagon to, wasn't working for me. It actually made it so that I was working for them. Thank you for your time. My name is Zed.